Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into one of the most intense and revealing power struggles unfolding in Eastern Europe, a moment that has shaken the foundations of Belarusian politics and placed its long-standing leader Alexander Lukashenko under unprecedented pressure. As reports continue to surface about growing dissatisfaction within the top military ranks, the situation raises critical questions about the future of Belarus, the stability of its leadership, and how far the country's generals are willing to go in challenging the system they once defended without hesitation. In this video, we'll explore the deeper layers of this conflict, the roots of the growing military discontent, and what this challenge truly means for Lukashenko's rule, the region, and the people living through this volatile period. The first thing we need to understand is that this crisis didn't suddenly erupt overnight. It is the result of years of simmering frustration, unaddressed grievances, and decisions that have placed Belarus at a difficult geopolitical crossroads. Lukashenko's leadership, once seen as unshakable, has faced numerous internal and external pressures, but none as striking as this growing divide within the armed forces. When generals, who traditionally serve as pillars of loyalty, begin to question their leader's direction, it signals a deeper shift that goes beyond political disagreements. It hints at an institutional struggle, a battle for the soul of the nation's future, and a widening gap between the government and the military elite. Over the past several months, Lukashenko has issued directives that many in the upper command have found questionable, impractical, or outright dangerous. These include intensified military cooperation with foreign powers, abrupt policy changes that affect national security operations, and decisions that place military personnel in unpredictable situations. As the pressure escalated, some generals began to voice their concerns internally, hoping for dialogue or compromise. But instead of addressing these worries, the administration doubled down, demanding stricter obedience and loyalty. This reaction only deepened the divide, pushing a number of senior officers to quietly align with one another, forming a group united not by personal ambition but by serious fears about the country's direction under increasingly unpredictable leadership. This consolidation of dissent among the generals is particularly significant because Belarusian leadership has always relied heavily on the loyalty of the military. For decades, Lukashenko cultivated an image of control, portraying himself as the guardian of national stability, supported unwaveringly by the armed forces. But now that stability is cracking. Reports of closed-door debates, intense disagreements, and moments of confrontation suggest that the confidence the generals once had in Lukashenko's judgment has eroded. They worry that certain political decisions are putting Belarus at unnecessary risk, both domestically and internationally, and that the consequences of those decisions could spiral beyond control. Inside the military, morale has fluctuated, and many officers feel caught between their duty to protect the nation and their frustration with orders they see as misguided. For the generals who have spent decades devoted to the institution, watching the military be pulled into political maneuvers has sparked a profound internal struggle. These men are not simply rebelling against authority. They're trying to prevent a trajectory they believe could lead to instability or conflict. Their challenge is not a quest for power, but a demand for rational strategy, transparency, and responsible leadership, qualities they increasingly feel have been compromised. Meanwhile, Lukashenko has responded with sharp rhetoric, portraying the generals' concerns as disloyalty or manipulation by foreign interests. He has tightened control mechanisms, increased surveillance within the armed forces, and attempted to reinforce loyalty through rewards and warnings. However, such measures have only amplified distrust. When leaders attempt to reassert control through intimidation rather than dialogue, they risk pushing dissent further underground, making it even more difficult to manage or predict. That seems to be the case now, as generals continue to quietly organize, share information, and solidify their stance. What makes this internal challenge so dangerous for Lukashenko is not just the dissent itself, but the credibility of those leading it. These generals are decorated, experienced, and respected among their peers. Their backgrounds give them substantial influence and the ability to sway others within the ranks. Their critique carries weight because it is rooted in first-hand experience and grounded in concerns about military readiness, national security, and the long-term consequences of decisions made without proper consultation. These concerns resonate deeply with mid-level officers and ground units, creating a ripple effect throughout the military structure. Outside the armed forces, the Belarusian population has reacted to this news with a mixture of uncertainty and apprehension. For many citizens, the military has always been a symbol of national order, and the idea of internal division raises fears of instability or even potential conflict. Others see the general's challenge as a sign that change may finally be emerging from within the system itself. But regardless of perspective, everyone understands that this development marks a turning point. When the military questions the leadership, it signals that the crisis has moved beyond politics and into the core institutions that maintain the country's structure. International observers have also taken notice. Neighboring countries, allies, and geopolitical rivals are closely watching these developments, each interpreting them through their own strategic lens. Some see the general's challenge as a sign of vulnerability within the regime. Others worry that the situation could escalate into a regional issue if mismanaged. External pressure on Belarus has already been high due to political tensions, economic sanctions, and diplomatic isolation. The military challenge only complicates matters further, introducing new uncertainties that foreign governments must now consider when assessing Belarus's stability. The growing tension between the generals and Lukashenko has also exposed fractures within the government itself. Some civilian officials quietly sympathize with the military's perspective, recognizing that certain decisions have placed Belarus in increasingly precarious positions. However, expressing dissent openly remains nearly impossible due to strict controls and fear of retaliation. As a result, debates and disagreements unfold behind closed doors, hidden from public view yet critical to understanding the full scope of the current crisis. The internal pressure building within these institutions could become a decisive factor in the coming weeks or months. Despite the rising tensions, the generals have not called for a dramatic overthrow or direct confrontation. Instead, their actions suggest they are pushing for urgent reform, accountability, and reevaluation of key national security strategies. They want decisions to be grounded in expertise rather than political calculations. They are seeking a more rational approach to alliances, military deployments, and domestic security operations. Their goal appears to be preserving the integrity of the institution they've dedicated their lives to, not allowing it to become a tool for decisions that could jeopardize the country's long-term stability. As the situation evolves, Lukashenko faces a critical choice: engage in meaningful dialogue or continue down a path of confrontation. If he chooses the latter, the consequences could be severe. History shows that ignoring or suppressing institutional dissent often leads to fractures that widen over time, eventually becoming impossible to contain. For the moment, the general's challenge remains a warning, a signal that the foundation of loyalty cannot be taken for granted. But if their concerns continue to be dismissed, this internal conflict could escalate into something far more serious. For the Belarusian people, this period is filled with uncertainty, anxiety, and cautious hope. Many wonder whether this internal pressure could lead to broader change, while others fear destabilization. The balance between these possibilities depends heavily on how both sides proceed. A constructive path forward would require honest communication, mutual recognition of concerns, and a willingness to prioritize the nation over personal authority. Whether such an outcome is achievable remains unknown. The complexity of this crisis also highlights the delicate nature of leadership during turbulent times. A leader's strength is not measured merely by the ability to command, but by the ability to listen, adapt, and earn genuine loyalty. When those in the highest ranks, those entrusted with national defense, begin to question the decisions made at the top, it is a sign that something fundamental must be reassessed. Such moments, though challenging, can become opportunities for renewal if approached with courage and humility. As the world watches, the fate of this conflict hangs in the balance. The generals are standing firm in their message, seeking a responsible and strategic approach to the challenges facing Belarus. Lukashenko, meanwhile, is navigating one of the most significant tests of his authority. Whether this confrontation leads to reform, deeper division, or a complete shift in power dynamics remains to be seen. What is clear is that the events unfolding today will leave a lasting impact on Belarus' political landscape, shaping the direction of the country for years to come. The challenge by the generals represents more than a dispute within the military. It is a reflection of deeper national questions about leadership, stability, and the future. The coming days will be crucial in determining how this story unfolds. Will the warnings be heard, or will they be silenced? Will the nation find a path forward that strengthens its institutions, or will internal conflict widen the divides? These questions remain unanswered, but their significance cannot be overstated. As we continue to follow this developing story, one thing is certain: Belarus stands at a pivotal moment, and the decisions made now will echo far into its future. The generals have made their stance clear, and Lukashenko must now decide whether to confront, compromise, or reconsider. For the people of Belarus, the hope is that whatever comes next brings stability, clarity, and a renewed sense of direction. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned as more information emerges.